I have
This
given in the
conference
slide
will now be recorded.
deck as well. And this from this particular thing, right? You might get at least 4 to 5 questions as part of Snow Pro examination, and people as part of the interview they'll ask you whether what feature is in which particular edition, kind of thing. Okay, there are differences between the editions, and then each edition has its own features, right? So people might ask you which edition do you have this kind of feature, or they might ask you what is the edition that you are using. The edition that normally people, there are different things, right? In my company, we used to, for production environment, we use business critical, and then for the other dev and stage, we call it, instead of QA we call it a stage. So we use enterprise, but a lot of people they use standard for dev and QA, and then enterprise for production. And if you have more sensitive data, if you're into HIPAA complaints, all kinds of things, right, they use business critical. Okay, so let's discuss why and all this stuff. Let me explain you that. Okay, let's look at these particular things, right? So complete SQL data warehouse, that means you have the complete data warehouse for you, the SQL engine in the standard edition. So the standard edition is cheaper. When you say AWS and then you have chosen North America, right? It's only $2 cost per credit. This is $3. So you might save some money. So that is the reason people use this for development environment. You don't need to have high-end system for high-end edition for development, right? So they use this for development environment. So you have secure data sharing. That means this is a feature where you can share your data to anybody in the world. You can share your data to another Snowflake account. You don't need an FTP, you don't need anything. There is a configuration that you have to do, couple of minutes, and they can query the data, and it's real time. And the moment you insert any data, update, delete anything on your table, right, it is real time for them. They can look at the data at real time. That's called data sharing. Will There is another chapter on we'll tell when we talk about it. Okay, so data sharing across regions clouds, that means you can share your data to any account. Maybe the account can be in Azure or in GCP, or this thing can be in a different region. Normally there is a restriction when you share your data, right? It has to be in the same region. For example, my region is APAC Mumbai, so I can only share with APAC Mumbai accounts. Now they have removed it, and then you can share it to anybody, any account in the world which is part of any region. You can have it in your North America region, I can share it. So sharing doesn't cost you anything at all. If you run a query, then only it's going to cost you. If you look at this particular example, right?
Shekhar, I have one question. This might be a silly one. So,
Mm-hmm.
who should be really worried about standard enterprises and business critical? I mean, organization, of course, yes. But as an associate, as a developer or a administrator, who will be looking at all this pricing and all this stuff?
Architect basically.
Or, okay, yeah,
And then admin to an extent, because what features that are there, based on it he can do much more, right? If you are in a better edition, you can do a lot more things. Okay,
okay.
where is my, yeah. So I'll show you what data sharing means. And Premier support 24 into 365. That means you can raise a ticket to Snowflake. They can support you 24 into 7 if you have an issue. 1 day of time travel. This is another feature where you can go back to 24 hours, and then if you have deleted some data from the table, you can recover the data. If the table itself is dropped, you can undrop the data. So this is a data backup kind of thing where you can have control on your data. If you can identify if something is lost within 24 hours, you can go and then recover that particular data. You can query your table at that particular point of time. This is called time travel. Time travel is another topic in Snowflake. So these are all topics. These are all sessions. We're gonna have the sessions on top of this one particular. So time travel is another session or a chapter which helps you to identify how do you go back within 24 hours, and if you have deleted some data, how do you recover the data and all this stuff. Got it? Are you able to follow me?
Yes, Sugar.
Okay. So if you look at this table, right, this object navigator, so do you see any difference in the icons of the databases? These are all databases. So if you look at the Snowflake sample data, right, there is an arrow mark pointing inside, and then you see this particular icon is different than the other three, right? So this is a read-only database. This is a shared database. Snowflake has shared the data, and if you look at it, right, this has 1000 terabytes. This one has 1000 terabytes. This has 10,000 terabytes. This has 1 terabyte. That means if you add all the data in the entire tables, it adds up to 1 terabyte. This is 10,000 terabytes. Do you think Snowflake for a $400 trial version will insert 10,000 terabytes and give it to you? Very expensive matter, right? If you are having 10,000 terabytes means too much of storage. This entire thing is a shared one. This is a shared database. Okay. They have one single copy and they share this to the entire world. Even when you sign up into your production environment, you'll have this demo DB, util DB, and Snowflake sample data. These three will be there. So this is a benchmarking database, and which has different sizes of tables, and that can be used for your querying purposes, for testing purposes, and all this stuff. Okay. So this is a data share. This is what we are talking here. Secure data sharing. Okay. So the same way you can have your data and you can share it to somebody else. They can look at your data. Okay. And data sharing helps. We'll come back to it. Oh, hold on. So 1 day of time travel, you can go back and then you can undrop a table. You can, if the data is deleted from the table, we can recover the data as well. We'll see how. Okay. Always enterprise grade encryption in transit and at rest. For example, you have a 5 terabyte file you're trying to ingest into Snowflake. So when you're trying to ingest, right, there is a mechanism where you have to put the file into Snowflake uh, staging area. From there, you have to copy the data into the copy that file data into the table. So data ingestion is a two-step process. The next session is the same thing. But when you're trying to push your file into the Snowflake, right? So where is Snowflake sitting in? Snowflake is sitting in the cloud. So when you're trying to load the file, that means you have to push the file into the staging area, and from there you have to load. So while pushing itself, somebody can hack your data. So that is called, they encrypt the data. The moment if you are trying to load, push the file into Snowflake, right? They encrypt the data. That is called encryption in transit. And once the data goes and sits in the table, right, they have a different keys to encrypt that. So encryption in transit, encryption in rest while pushing the file. If it is a small file, it doesn't take much time, but still somebody can sniff your data using network. There are a lot of network sniffers. While you're trying to load something, they can sniff what are the packets that are being sent. So there are a lot many things to make sure the file is much more secure. They encrypt the file first before pushing it into Snowflake. That is called encryption in transit, and encryption in
So,
rest means,
uh,
yeah.
so Shekhar, you are saying the staging area itself it is encrypting, then encrypted data is going to be in Snowflake.
Yeah, while transferring the file into Snowflake, which is transit, that means it takes some time to transfer, right? If it's a big file, much more time. Smaller files, not much time. But when you're trying to transfer the files into Snowflake staging area, it first encrypts all the files and then transfers. That is called encryption in transit. And
Okay.
once you transfer into staging area, you can load that into a table. When you load into a table, right, it will have a different encryption. File encryption is different. The data that is sitting in the table is different. It has a different encryption mode. That is the reason what they say is right. Enterprise grade encryption in transit and at rest. Okay. And then customer dedicated virtual warehouses. That means you can create your own virtual warehouses for running the queries, and we have seen it, right? You can create virtual warehouses of sizes from extra small to 4XL. You can have your own virtual warehouses and you can run them. But the only thing difference between the other things is, right, here you can have only single cluster. You cannot have multi cluster. Standard, you can have only single cluster.
Shekhar, I think if you are talking, we're not able to hear you.
Shekhar, hello Shekhar.
Hello, Shekhar. We are not getting your voice.
Guys, maybe he lost your network. Please wait.
Guys, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah, now we can, sir.
Yes, Shekhar. Now I
Yeah,
can.
now we can.
Yeah, we can able to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm facing some. Okay, sorry about that, guys. And then one more thing, right? Please, whomever has joined, right? I think, are you guys getting the link details sent by Sindhu? If not, ping me your numbers. So I'll just ask her to add you in that. If you can ping your phone numbers here in the chat, right? I'll ask her so that you can get the class timings and the links and everything properly. Okay. Don't forget to ping here. If you're not getting the links right automatically, ping your phone number here. I'll make sure that you get them automatically. Okay. So coming back to the features, right? So database replication. This is a disaster management thing where, for example, you have an account in North America, and then if you think there was AWS, there was an issue with the snow and all this stuff, and then one of the our regions was down for half an hour or 1 hour or something. So the AWS entire region was down. So if you have that kind of scenario, right, what happens to the data? If you want to make sure that your data is intact and all, Snowflake recovers all the data and all this stuff. But in case if you want to have another spare set of data, you can do data replication. You can replicate this data into another account. You can replicate this into an Azure account as well, Google GCP as well, or into the same account. That means cross cloud replication is also available.
Sekhar,
For
sorry
example,
to stop you. We actually lost. You're trying to say, right? Standard cluster standard can have only one cluster. We lost
yeah,
from there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Thanks.
Standard edition, you can have only one single cluster. You can have only one single cluster. You can hear me right? Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, now we can able to hear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm having some audio issues with my headphone. This one is a noise cancellation and all this stuff. I don't know. I just put it into a different USB to make sure it's a loose contact or something like that. Sorry about that. So you can hear me, right? It's better now.
Yeah,
Okay. So I was talking about the standard edition can have only single cluster. You cannot create multi-cluster warehouses in the standard edition. The min max that I have shown you, right? You will have only one single cluster there. So that's what the standard edition can provide. Okay. So federated authentication is like single sign-on, and there is a multi-factor authentication when we come to the security part of it. Right? I'll explain you. But it has all the features of authentication as single sign-on. It starts with standard edition. And database replication is like disaster management, right? If you want to have your data intact somewhere, if something goes down, then probably you can have the data replicated to any account, and the replication can happen to another cloud platform as well. For example, in North America, you have your data in AWS. That means you implemented in Snowflake and AWS. When you want to replicate it, right, you can replicate it to APAC, Mumbai, and Azure as well. Or in Europe, you can replicate to GCP. If you want to have the data intact, it doesn't need to be on the same platform. You can replicate it to any other cloud provider as well. Okay. And then external functions. So in these cloud providers, right, they have come up with an functions where lambda functions. AWS, you have your code, Python code, you have your Java code, and you don't, it's called serverless. You don't need to install any server. The cloud provider itself provides you the native Python engine or Java engine to compile and all this stuff. So people, what they do, right, they write the code and execute on the cloud the logic. So the same thing, you can call that particular thing in from Snowflake as well. Example is, right, for example, you are trying to encrypt some data in SQL Server using a Python function that is in the cloud. So in the AWS, it's called a lambda functions, where you can what do you call it, you can use a function, read the data from the function, and then process it and then put it back. So it doesn't need to be, this particular thing need not to be in SnowSQL as well. This is external to SnowSQL. So this function is called external, which takes SnowSQL's data, Snowflake's data, and process it. And if you want, you can get back the data, or you can do what kind of, so algorithms, whatever the data science things that you want to do. So it supports the external functions. Okay, I'll show you an example of what external function is when we get into the chapter. Okay, and Snowsight is a new one. This is something like building a dashboard. You have click view or tableau kind of thing, right? They have come up with another thing called dashboard, that is Snowsight. Even the standard edition can build dashboards. Create your own data exchange. When we talked about data sharing, right, we talked about you can share your data to anybody in the world. This data exchange is only for your company. For example, you are running an insurance company, and all your agents are across the entire country, and your agent should be able to query your data, read your data, or only particular to your particular company. That is called data exchange. You can create a data exchange so that people can utilize, and then you can share your data to everybody, whomever is needed in your company. This data sharing is across all the accounts, or you can share it to anybody in the world. This one is only to your company. Okay, and data marketplace is like public. You can sell your data. That's all. These two things work on data sharing principle only. Okay, so you can share your data, you can buy your data. So with standard edition, you have access to data marketplace, as well as you can create your data exchange. Are we good? Any questions so far?
Yes.
Okay. So, and the other part, right? Let's get into the enterprise part of it. So enterprise will have all the things that are part of standard plus the other things. Here you will have multi-cluster warehouse. It's not a single cluster. And the time travel here is only for one day. You can do a time travel for 90 days. That means you can have your data, 90 days of data with you, and whenever you want, you can go back to that particular time and then look at the data, or it stores the data for 90 days, so that even if you lose your data and identify the data after 30 days, you can go back and recover the data. If you have sensitive information and you want to have a backup kind of thing for 90 days, time travel is nothing but having a backup for you for 90 days, so that if you identify later part, you can recover it. If you table is dropped, you can undrop it, you can do all kinds of stuff. And this comes with the baggage. If you set up more number of days as time travel, you have to pay more for the storage. We have looked at the options, right? We have a compute cost as well as storage cost. If you increase your time travel, that means, for example, if a table has 100 million records and you have set up the time travel for 90 days, that means these 100 million records it will keep for 90 days. That means this storage is extra, you have to pay for it. Something like a backup where you're going to pay for the backup. Understood? Okay. And then, guys, you are able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir. We are able to
Yeah.
hear.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. And then the next one is annual rekeying of all encrypted data. So what happens, right? Here the encryption happens. We see that customer get encryption, transit, and rest. In enterprise edition, they have given you another feature where you can rekey. The encryption happens by a key. It's a 256 RSA public key which goes and then encrypts the data, right? Even Snowflake cannot read the data. Only the end user who can issue a SQL statement can only decrypt the data and can see the data. The folks, the inside Snowflake, what of the code that it runs, right? It cannot read that. Only the end user can do that. And then if you want to change your keys, like something like passwords for every quarter, the company policy, you have to go and change your password every quarter, right? Something similar, you can change the keys that you have used for encrypting the data. That can be done with annual. So, and this is also gonna cost you something. We'll talk in detail when we come to the encryption part of it. Okay. And then materialized views, you can create materialized views if you have huge data set and whenever you are trying to aggregate some data, millions of records, and you want to have faster data retrieval and all this stuff, right? We can use go for materialized views. And materialized views is once you whenever you create a materialized view, whenever there is a change in the table, it automatically syncs. In the other database environments, you have to. Guess you had any question
Actually,
for
can you,
me?
Shikhar, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I was having some trouble in my audio
Hmm.
set. Yeah,
Okay.
you were saying like 90 days of time travel in real in the organization level. How does
Hmm.
it matter? Because whenever you load some file, we will be having some set of backup as a file or a DB connection. In real, where exactly do we use this time travel? Could you please explain me with
So
one real use case?
what we do, right? So the control whenever you do data ingestion, there might be you are inserting the data, you're all good. If somebody accidentally deletes the data or somebody accidentally drops the table, how do you recover that? This is a common phenomenon in entire database environment, right? If somebody deletes or some program when you deployed the code, there was a bug in the program which deleted the data in the production environment. How do you recover that back? Understood?
Okay, okay,
So
got
at
it.
that particular point of time, we'll go back when this particular DML thing happened. We can go back by offset, meaning I can go back by 300 seconds, 500 seconds, and select star from the table at the rate of offset equal to, and then give number of seconds. It goes back and it gives you the snapshot of that particular table at that particular point of time, as if you are in that particular time. or you can use a timestamp and go back, or if you know that there was a DML command, by looking at the query ID, you can tell I want the data before this statement, and it gives you the snapshot of the entire table, and you can recover the data from there.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. So, and then materialized views we talked about. So whenever you have huge data sets, and then uh, aggregation. So for example, you want to look at the sales data of every day, but for every day you will have millions of records. When you're talking about huge e-commerce application that you get your data into data warehouse, right? There might be huge set. So when you create a materialized view, right, it aggregates the whole thing, and then whenever there is a change in the table, that means if new records are inserted into the table or updated or deleted, the same thing gets reflected in the view as well. That's what materialized view is. Okay. And search optimization service. This is something like where you are into the customer. This is basically a performance thing on the SQL. Whenever you are in the customer support and you are trying to query and see what happened on the status of an order or something, right? Then it has to be pretty fast, milliseconds, because you are on the call with the customer, and then you have to talk to them, look at the status of your order and all this stuff, right? So this search optimization service helps you to look at the data and then get the data pretty fast. Okay. And dynamic data masking. So you have your PII data, meaning your personal. I always tend to forget this abbreviation. Personally
Yeah,
identifiable data. That
personal,
is,
personally,
yeah.
yes, in
So
banking
it's,
terminology, we are
yeah,
more.
yeah. So and you have these social security numbers. You have your balances. You have many things in finance sector. Some things might be PII, and in banking sector some things might be PII. So e-commerce sector something. So based on your PII data, you can mask the data so that people cannot look at the data. For example, you are trying to get some data from a file. So the file is encrypted, and once you load the data into Snowflake, it you can query the data, right? You want to hide the data, you can create a policy, and then you can apply the policy on n number of columns. So that is called dynamic data masking. So you can create a masking policy which tells what needs to be done, and then this policy can be applied to n number of columns. So for example, ssn can be in 10 different tables, and you can apply this policy on 10 different tables. So that is what is called dynamic data masking. That's part of enterprise edition. And external data tokenization. If you have already some data that is already encrypted, and when you are trying to bring it into Snowflake, you want to decrypt it and encrypt again so that the data is cannot be seen by other folks, right? So that kind of thing is can be done in the enterprise edition. Okay. So that is pretty much about enterprise. And then business critical. Maybe this is boring for you guys. We're not doing any action, but this is very important because people ask you in interviews what edition that this particular thing has. For example, I want to have 90 days of time travel. Which edition you can choose? And when you're trying to write a Snow Pro examination, right? You'll get at least 5 marks from this particular, at least 3 marks from this um particular details. So that is the reason I'm emphasizing and then talking to you guys. Okay. And then coming to business critical is mostly complaint kind of thing. If you are into pharma sector or health sector and you have any compliances that you want to follow, you can do that. And one more important thing in business critical is, right, whenever you are trying to encrypt the data, you can give your key. Until the standard and enterprise edition, the keys are generated by Snowflake. Here in business critical edition, you can give your encryption key to Snowflake, and Snowflake uses its encryption key. It mixes both of them and generate another encryption key and encrypt the entire data. So it's much more complex. If you're not trusting Snowflake and you want to have your own key, this is the best one. So that is the reason people go for business critical, because you can have your own key and the data that is your data is encrypted with your key. It's a mixture of Snowflake key and your key. It's much more complex. So people go with production if they think that data is much more sensitive. Understood? That is called try secret secure using customer manager keys. Try secret secure is the keyword. Okay. Data encryption anywhere, the HIPAA support, PCI compliance, and you have AWS private link support. That means whenever you're trying to connect to AWS, and if you have your data sitting in your cloud, right? If you're trying to read from the cloud and all this stuff, you'll have a separate private network kind of thing. AWS private link support. That is there in business critical. And database failover and failback for business continuity. We have seen database replication. Here you just replicate your data and keep it there. But here, failover and failback, meaning, for example, you have your account in North America and then something goes down. But you don't want to lose the business or whatever you're trying to do, the jobs that are running, whatever the data that is being processed. Automatically, what happens the moment the North America account goes down, you can switch over to APAC account which you have already set it up. Your North America is a primary account, and then your APAC is a secondary account. If this goes down, it automatically all the transactions, all the jobs are pointed to the secondary account. You can have your business continuity. You don't need to lose any of the business. That is called failover and failback. That is there in business critical. So because of these two reasons, people tend to have their production environment in business critical, even though if they are not, they doesn't want any HIPAA compliance or PCI compliance or anything. They use this for if you want failover failback, or if you want to encrypt with your own keys, they go for business critical. If you think it's okay, then you can just go ahead with enterprise edition. Okay. So external functions, something similar to the standard one and enterprise, but it has API gateway endpoints. That means whenever you are trying to call an external function, you can secure and tell that I'm going to get a request from this particular Snowflake account, then only allow this and run this particular function. Much more secure. So the data that you are being worked upon, the function that being worked upon, you are making them much more secure so that it's not exposed. That is what this endpoint support. Okay. And then the other thing is last one, virtual private Snowflake. This is customer dedicated virtual servers wherever the encryption key is in memory. Normally what happens in Snowflake, right? It's a cloud data warehouse, right? It's a pay as you go model. If you don't use that particular warehouse or the cluster, after a while it gets suspended and you are not charged for it. Okay. And then whenever you issue a query again, after, for example, if you go look at this particular warehouse, right? Let me show you. There is a setting in the warehouse, and if you tell after if it's not used for 5 minutes, okay, see auto suspend. I can say 5 minutes, and I can say 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it's. So if I say auto suspend 5 minutes, if there is no activity on the virtual warehouse, that means there is no user running any queries using this particular warehouse, and after 5 minutes it suspends. Once the warehouse is suspended, right, you are not charged for it, no compute charges for you. Okay, but whenever you issue a query again, you see, right, auto resume, it automatically resumes. So if you go look at the statuses, right, can you see all of them suspended? I'm going to run compute wh, right, I'm going to run a query. I am using compute wh and I'm running this particular query. Okay, I got the data, right? Let's go back. Let me refresh this. Oh, one second. This might have read from the cache. So whenever you read from the cache, right, it doesn't use the virtual warehouse. So it's, we'll talk about caching as well. Okay, hold on. So I'm trying to run and get how many records? 1,000 records. If I go to my warehouses, can you see this? Started. So did I start this virtual warehouse? No. This is the setting in the virtual warehouses. You can say auto resume. So whenever somebody issues a query, it wakes up and then process the data. But whenever, so in the background, what happens is, right, this is easy to note. The moment you suspend, that virtual warehouse is not with you. And whenever you query, right, yes, can you mute yourself, please? Yeah. So whenever you query, right, at that particular point of time, we talked about the infrastructure manager in cloud services layer. It goes and identifies a node which you can execute, identifies a virtual warehouse which is from the pool. You can get it from the AWS pool machine for your execution, and then it uses that particular machine and then basically node and executes your query. But with the virtual private Snowflake, right, you will have a dedicated nodes that is not shared with somebody else, because people think that you can, if the virtual the same nodes are reused between different clients, that means my company, once the virtual warehouse is suspended, that particular virtual warehouse can be given to any other customer in the world, basically for, if of the same region. Because if you have signed up in North America, right, North America, there will be server farm where you have all these physical nodes ready for your execution, and the moment you issue a query, it goes and gets one particular physical EC2 node and then runs your query. And once you, it's 5 minutes, right, then it becomes suspended. If it is suspended, it won't sit idle. They give it to somebody else, some other customer, which they can run their queries. So that means the virtual warehouses are shared between accounts, shared between customers. If VPS, right, those things are not shared. You will have a dedicated virtual warehouses for you only. Understood?
So the
Customer
dedicated servers will be costly, or how it they
yeah.
charge?
In US it's $6. In India it's $6.5.
In that case, what is the use of putting that auto
More
suspend?
security, right? More security. No, not auto suspend is there. You still have auto suspend, but the machines or the EC2 nodes are not shared with somebody else. So you, whenever you use the virtual warehouses, right, the data gets cached onto the virtual warehouse as well. When the data gets cached, right, you can hack and read the data from virtual warehouse. It's called SSD cache. So when I talk about EC2 nodes, right, I'll explain you a little more detail, but there is a probability that somebody can read your data from the virtual warehouse cache. Here you have a dedicated virtual warehouses so that people cannot, in this particular warehouse is not shared between different customers, is only for you, is much more secure.
Okay, okay. So, and also one more question. So, if you keep on using this auto suspend, will it be a performance issue?
No, not a perfect. No, see, at the end of the day, you want to save money, right? That is the reason why we are going to getting into a cloud model, right? And whenever you're not utilizing any hardware, you don't need to pay for it.
Okay,
And
it won't
and
impact on the performance, right?
it might have a little impact. The moment when you run a query, and it has to wake up the virtual warehouse, right?
Yeah.
Waking up the virtual warehouse might take couple of seconds.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to understand. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is pretty much about the additions. So this is very important. You can go Snowflake, type Snowflake pricing, you'll get this page, you go through this, and then you'll get a clarity. And people ask in the interviews as well, right? They'll ask you what is supported in which particular edition and all this stuff. So you can make sure of this, or you can have this in a cheat sheet like this, put it somewhere, and then whenever you're trying to talk through the interview, right, have this set of data somewhere here, and then whenever, because you don't need to type anything, you just use your mouse to open and you can answer the interviews as well. Okay, that is pretty much about the architecture part of it. So I think I have covered the entire architecture. One second. Okay, so okay, now let's get back to the web UI. So what is in there, what's not there, and all this stuff. Did I talk about web UI? No, right?
No.
Okay, right. So the moment you log whatever you are signed up for, and this is called web UI, web user interface. Okay. And you can hear me.
Yeah,
Guys, can you hear me, please? You can hear me now, right?
yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
Shekhar. Now we can.
Okay, then cool. So coming back to this, right? So this is the worksheet, and you can have 100 worksheets. I think the limit is 100. I'm not sure about it. And you can write your queries, and this particular thing is called context sensitive menu, and this particular menu is only for this worksheet. And you can have 100 worksheets, and each of them can talk to different databases, can talk to different roles, can talk to different virtual warehouses and all this. So we can change whatever you want. This is the role, this is the virtual warehouse, this is the database, this is schema. Okay, you can go ahead and create schemas, you can go ahead and create databases, pretty simple. Okay, so I can query select, I can use a database sfdb, and then sf schema, and I'll say select star from emp. So this is the query that I've run, and this is the worksheet. and whatever the access database objects that you have access to, right, that is there in your left hand side, that is called object navigator or database navigator. Okay, and if you go and change this particular role, right, based on the role your objects get changed. If I change it to account admin is a super user kind of thing in Snowflake, and see I see another database called Snowflake. Okay, so this is context sensitive menu. Each menu, each worksheet, you can choose a different account, different role. You can do whatever you want, and you can execute your queries. Okay, and whenever you are trying to run your queries, right? So you can say select and then run using this. You can click on run, or if you don't want to use the mouse or anything, right? You make sure that the previous query is has ended with semicolon. So I have ended select star from DEPT. I don't know the DEP semicolon. Control enter. Control enter will execute the query. But you have to make sure if you don't have this semicolon right at the end, then if you go and run this one, it throws you an error. See, it doesn't understand. It thinks both of them are same sequel. If you put a semicolon at the end and you can run control enter, it executes the statement. It is much more handy for you. Okay, or you can just select this and then you can run this as well. It's up to you guys how you want to do that. Okay, and this is called the database, and here if you want to see, you can demo db. There are three dots. You click set as context. If you click on it, right, see the demo db has changed here. Previously it was sfdb, now you moved it. Or if you have any other schema, or if you think sfdb, right, you can go and set as context sfdb and schema set as context. Okay, and if you want to get any tables into your worksheet, right, so for example emp, you place name in sql, or you can view details, you can preview data, or if you double click, it comes and prints the name here. Okay, so these are some of the techniques that you can use to get your data. And when you say preview data, right, and then preview data, it shows you the data here. And then view details, it show you what are the column names and everything part of it. Or if you just click on it, right, on your left hand it shows you how many number of rows, what are the columns, and it. You can close this. Okay, and this is the columns, right, you can filter the columns, rows. These are all the column names. If you go and then take out, right, nothing is there. Row name, type, you can filter whatever you want. Okay, and then you can expand this, maximize the results, and look at the data part of it, and you can collapse it as well. Okay, you can download the result set, or you can copy the result set, and the moment you put your cursor near this particular thing, right, it shows you the breakup of all this stuff, how much time it took for execution and all this stuff. And then once you run whatever the query that you run in Snowflake is associated with the query id. So if you go to history, right, it this particular history stores 14 days of your queries. Entire 14 days of queries are stored in the history page. You can go ahead and then read all this data. The moment you execute a query, right, this is shown here. Okay, and if you look at the size, and if you see a name here, then you are charged for it. If you don't see the size extra small, medium, or something, right, then you are not charged for it. See, select star from MP, this is reading from the cache. query result reuse. It's read from the cache. So we'll go in detail, but this is what it is. So if it's read from the cache, you said describe table this from the cache, select char from that particular thing, this where we said limit is equal to 10,000, right, or 1,000. So it utilized a virtual warehouse, and how much data that it has brought in, how much time it has spent, everything. Okay, so you will be charged when you see size, and you have extra small, small, medium, large kind of things. Okay, so this history is there for 14 days. Remember, you can go ahead and query, look at the data, and whenever you this particular query ID, right? This query ID is unique across the entire globe. Whenever you're talking to the Snowflake community, you can use this query ID and talk to them. They can figure out, they can look at the query ID and see what is going on, and they can resolve the issue whatever is happening to you. This query ID is unique across the entire globe. Okay, and you can see the results if you are working in a team and entire team is using the same virtual warehouse, ETL virtual warehouse. And then you can also see the queries that are run by the other folks. Whomever is using the same virtual warehouse, you can see the query, but you cannot see the results of that particular warehouse. Are you able to follow me, guys?
Yeah, Shikhar. Shikhar, I have a question. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever the data we are querying is
Mm-hmm.
actually Amazon. It is actually from Amazon EC2 bucket. Uh,
No, no, S3
just want
bucket.
to know.
No,
S3
so
bucket.
whenever,
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, whenever you create a table or do anything, right, it goes and gets stored into the S3 buckets. Okay,
Okay.
we'll talk in detail. I'll tell you how that thing works. We have an S3 session on S3 buckets as well. I'll give you little more details about it. Okay, so this is pretty much about the query, and you can filter whatever the username, status, warehouse, and session ID, SQL text, query tag. So you can filter this data and look, because 14 days of data, right? When you are looking at a business. You mean production environment, you have lot many tables, lot many queries that are being run, so it's very difficult to look at. So you can filter this and then take care of the issues. Okay, and then this is pretty much about the worksheets and history, and this particular thing is called menu ribbon. So this is menu ribbon, and the blue icon is the home icon. It takes you to your virtual warehouse. Sorry, it takes you to the worksheet, whatever the worksheet that you are running on, right? It takes you that. And this is the user ID that you have logged in, and this is the role, a default role that you have logged in. Okay, and so this database.
Shikhar,
Mhm.
what will be the hierarchy of the users from top to bottom,
Hierarchy meaning?
the roles? Like account admin would be the
Yeah, yeah.
topmost.
So yes, yes. So there are some. If you go to the switch role, right? Account admin is the super user kind of thing, and then you have sysadmin and security. Underneath the account admin, you have two of them: sysadmin and security admin. And under security admin, you have user admin. Okay, so when we get into the security part of the session, right, I'll tell you what are the hierarchy and everything.
Okay.
Okay, and you can create databases. So but when you're trying to create a database, make sure that you are using sysadmin, not account admin. And in real time world, you don't have access to account admin or even sysadmin. Okay, So you'll be given a custom what do you call custom role to handle that. Okay, so make sure that when you're in trial account, right, make sure that you use sysadmin to create your databases, objects, and everything. Okay, you can create your database like sfdb, sftest, and each and every dialog in Snowflake has a show SQL command. You can click on it and create database sftest. And this particular thing, right, you can copy it and you can run it in your worksheet, or you can have this NoSQL command line interface, and you can run in the on that one particular thing as well. Okay, so and once you have, if you want to create a schema, right, if you click on the databases, you will see all these tables, views, schemas, stages, file format, sequences, pipes. Okay, and then you can create a table, columns, everything. This is a GUI mode basically, and you have views. I don't think, yeah, okay. And these are the entire views in the entire system, metadata views also, and schemas. These are the schema that I have created. Public is a default schema, but everybody will have public. The moment you create an account, right, you will see a public role and public schema. So this is a schema. This is the schema that I have created. Okay, and this is stages. We talked about staging area file, right? We said if you are trying to ingest data into a table, you can have you can load your file into staging area and all this stuff. So these are the stages. We'll talk in detail, okay? And then you can have internal stage, external stage, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and these are the file formats. When you are trying to load your data into Snowflake, it has the file that you are trying to load needs to be parsed and then loaded, right? Each file have a different characteristics. So these are the file formats. You can create a file format and then you can have it. And these are the sequences. I don't have any sequence. And these snow pipes. If you want to create a pipe, right, you can create a snow pipe, and which automatically ingests the data into Snowflake and all this stuff. Okay, so that is pretty much about the databases part of it. And coming to shares, right, you can access shares if you have the account admin role, or you have to explicitly grant privileges to sysadmin or any other role to create shares and then share to somebody else. So there are two kinds of things: inbound, outbound. Inbound is the one that I got. Outbound is the one that I am sharing to the world. Okay. See, account is a Snowflake database sample data. I told you, right? Sample data is the one that you see. I told you 10,000 terabytes, 1,000 terabytes. That's part of the Snowflake has created database in one single location, and it has shared to everybody in the world. Okay, this outbound, I don't have outbound anything. I did not share it to somebody else. If you share it to somebody else, then probably you'll see them here. And this is the data marketplace where you can buy data, sell data, get data for free. Okay, okay. Safe graph, food traffic patterns, US consumer purchase data. You can, so these are all the areas that you can, they have a bigger catalog. Financial data, marketing data, business data. If you want to search, you can search. COVID-19 data atlas. So there are a lot of them. Most of them are free. Some of them you have to pay for, and all this stuff. Okay, and this is the dashboarding insight snow site. I told you, right? Enable worksheets, you can do dashboarding here, and you can do worksheets from here as well. So there are a couple of places that you can work from. Okay, and coming back, right? So this data marketplace, and we have seen the warehouses. I can create warehouses from extra small, small, medium, large. You can go ahead and create whichever warehouse you want. Bigger the warehouse, you'll be burning more credits. That's it. You'll get the best performance as well. You have to choose what is the best optimal one. Okay, and then we have seen out worksheets, and only account admin and security admin will have this account tab. So if you choose any other role, you won't have that. Only account admin, security admin. If you look at the account tab of account admin, right? So which gives you the billing information. So these are my virtual warehouses. I have spent out of $400, $12 is consumed by me, and I have 100 GB storage. So this is the storage part of it. Okay. I still have 20 GB somewhere I loaded. Which table? I don't know. I have to go and check. So this is gonna cost me. And these are number of credits. I have 3 warehouses. You will have all the billing information. And billing information can be seen using account admin role only. Okay. This is basically usage part of it. Billing means if you have already included your credit card, debit card, that can be used here. And users, how many number of users are there? If you want to create a user, you can do it from here. And roles, if you want to create role, you can create roles from here. These are the default roles: account admin, public security admin, sysadmin, user admin. These are the default roles. And policies, if you want to set up a network policy, which IP addresses has to be allowed in which whitelisting, blacklisting, all this stuff, right? That comes under policies. Sessions, what are the sessions that are being done, and if you want to kill the session, you can kill it from here. Only account admin has the privilege to kill the sessions. And these are resource monitors. We'll talk in detail about them. And reader accounts, we'll also talk in detail about them. Okay. And if I go ahead and change it to sysadmin, right? So sorry, security admin, I can not see the usage part of my Snowflake. It throws me an error, and then you can look at the other details. If you go to usage, right? No authorization. You cannot see this. But you can see billing. There is, you cannot see this. Users, part of security admin. You can create users, you can modify users, and roles, policies, sessions, and then the other things. So apart from usage, and the other tabs can be used by security admin. Using security admin, you can open all this stuff. And the other thing is preview apps. That means if there is a new feature that Snowflake is trying to release, right? You can go ahead and look at it, and then so you can look at the new set of previews. I don't think there is anything here. Okay, this monitor is a new feature. They are trying to set up resource monitors. You have seen the resource monitors here, right? What is this? Now they are bringing into this particular mode so that you can stop, and we will talk about the monitors later. Okay, and then coming back to this one, right? Partner connect. So these are all the partners that they have partnered with Snowflake, and you get a 15-day trial version, 10 days trial version if you want to use any of these particular tools. So Matillion, data ingestion; Stitch, data ingestion; Fivetran, data ingestion. Those, and SnapLogic is data ingestion. There are a lot of folks who work with different partners to load data and all this stuff, right? That is pretty much like this. Okay, you have the click view, the dashboard part of it. So Jeppel is for analytics, and this for security and all this stuff. Reverie is for data ingestion, data pipelines, and all this stuff. So different partners have different features. You can use any of them, and they give a trial version for 15 days. This is all on the cloud. Okay, and help is the one. You can go to Snowflake documentation, visit the community, and you can download. Go to downloads, and the first one is CLI client. You download this by clicking here, Bootstrap 1.2, and Windows. Darwin is for Mac, Linux is Linux, Windows is click on it. You will see different versions. So 1.2.14 is the latest one. You download that. Once you download, double click install. The moment you install, right, it goes and sits in your user profile. Where is your user profile? See users, your laptop or desktop name. Mine is Dell PC, and then SnowSQL. Okay, this is where it installs. And how do you connect to SnowSQL in the command prompt? Okay, okay. So SnowSQL, I'll send you the details as well. Okay, SnowSQL hyphen A. What is the account name? This is the account name, right? Until your cloud provider. Okay, let that come. And then what is the username? You, yes, modem. SnowSQL hyphen A, account name hyphen U, username. The account name is until your cloud provider. If you don't have any cloud provider, right, until before the snowflakecomputing.com dot snowflakecomputing.com is there, right? Until then you have to copy. Okay, I have made a mistake here. Okay, now now you are logged into Snowflake. This is the command line that helps you, and then whenever you want to automate your jobs, the jobs that should run in background, SnowSQL is the only one that you can connect and then make use of. Okay, so I'll be teaching you 30% on SnowSQL as well. The reason I want you to get familiarity with the SnowSQL part of it. So the next session, data ingestion, most of the stuff will use the SnowSQL, so that you will slowly learn the NoSQL part of it, the commands and everything. Okay. Now there is no database for me, no schema. I say use SFDB, use schema, SF schema. Okay. This is how it is. So, but every time when you want to connect to the Snowflake account, right, it's very difficult. You have to go to the URL, copy the URL, come back, and all this stuff, right? So you can. There is another file called config file in your dot snowsql directory. You can go ahead and click on it and then edit it. There is an area called connections dot example. You copy this connections dot example and you can create a new connection like this. I have created connections dot dev. This is my alias, the connection alias. This is my username. Sorry, this is my account name, username, password, my database schema name, role, whatever you want. These are the parameters that you can pass. You can set up all the details. If you say account name, enter the whole thing, that's fine. If not, you can use region as well, AWS, AP South -1. Okay, so you don't need to, you just say account name and give the entire until the snowflakecomputing.com, right? You copy that, copy without the HTTPS, copy that, give your details here, and then save it. Once you come back to this one, right, you don't need to type anything at all. You'll say -c connect to my alias. What is the connection alias that I have given there? Dev. See, I'm connect. Guys, hold on 1 second, please. Guys, you can hear me, right? Guys, can hear me?
I can hear you.
Hmm. Okay, right. So once you, this is the easiest way. You configure your connection details there, and even in work environment, you can connect to prod, you can connect to dev stage or whatever you want, right? You can use this and then connect. Okay, I have given the database name and the schema name, so it automatically populated. I'll say show tables. It shows me all the tables. Select current, and the other thing people normally ask, right? What is the version? Select current version. 5.10.3. Version doesn't have any prominence in Snowflake. Reason, we talked in the architecture part of it, right? They release every week. So every week this number gets changed. Okay. You have a client version as well. Current underscore client. Okay. This is 1.2.14. Once you install, right, it automatically updates your SnowSQL as well. Okay. So I think we have pretty much covered all the areas of Snowflake, and I have shown you how to install the SnowSQL client, and we have talked about web UI. So we are pretty much done with the architecture part of it. Let's from tomorrow, whenever tonight, right? We have a class in the evening. In that at 7 o'clock, we'll talk about data ingestion. Okay, we'll call it a day for now, and then we'll connect back in the evening, and we'll look into the data ingestion part of it. I'll send you the slide deck of the architecture, and you can have the recordings as well. I'll send you how to connect to download and connect to SnowSQL as well. So I'll give you some information on this. I'll share in the WhatsApp group, and if you're not part of WhatsApp group, right, please ping me your number here in the chat so that I can include you in the WhatsApp group so that you can receive all the files, recordings, and everything. Okay, guys, if you're not receiving any mails, or I would prefer you guys ping me your number in the chat so that I can send you the recordings and details, slide decks, and everything. Yeah.
Shikhar, one quick question and kind of information. Is there
Mm.
any sample resume or something who already have cleared the kind of no, interviews that will be easy for us to mold it from the beginning so that we can
Mm.
get started and get prepared with along with that?
Yeah, I don't give any sample resumes to anybody. I give a
Okay.
talk to. Reason is right. If five of you apply for a position, then five people should get calls. If I give a sample resume, everybody tries to mimic the same thing. I don't do it. You give me a resume, based on your resume, I'll give you the content. So that your content is different, somebody else's content is. I want everybody should get a call, and how you perform in the interview is up to you. So that's what I have been following for the past 9 batches or so. So you
Sure.
give me a resume,
Uh,
I can give you some content on top of it.
sure, sure. I will do that. Do you have your email ID or how do you want to share it?
So you have my number in this one, right? You can send me a WhatsApp, your resume to my WhatsApp. My number is there in the group chat, right? You can send it to me.
I don't know whether I'm part of that group. Anyway, I have pinged my number. So if I'm
Yeah,
not part
I'll
of that
include.
number, I will pick
Yeah,
your
yeah.
number.
I'll make sure that you're part of that group, and then after that, you'll see my name Shaker, and then you can ping it to me.
Sh- Sure, Shekhar. Thank you.
No problem. Guys, whomever is not in that particular WhatsApp group, right? Please ping me your number so that. Srihari, are you there in that particular group? No, right?
Yeah, I'm in that group. I think that I'm part of the daily one. Is there any specific group of for the weekend?
Yeah, there is a specific for the weekend.
Oh,
You
then I am not part of that. Yeah,
ping me your number. Probably I'll just add that there.
yeah. I'll just ping here itself.
Yeah, in the group chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I just pinged my number. Oh, didn't
Thank you.
mention my
Thank you.
name. Sorry.
Yeah, that should be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much, and I'll include all of your numbers. Send out the slide decks in the evening. Let's catch up with. We'll start a
Yeah.
new data acquisition session, and we'll catch up in the evening. Okay. Mo-
Okay. Yeah.
okay then, guys. Right.
So luckily today daylight saving started, so we'll be logging 1 hour before. Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Good. Good. Cool. Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Bye then. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Let's catch up in my evening time. AST. Okay. Bye.